Hola gente. What is that, my people? Welcome. Today I've gathered every single Olaplex myth I could find in the internet. I made a huge list and then I did a little bit of research. I talked to Olaplex experts, the Olaplex team themselves, to try to shed some light. So I guess I'm gonna share assumptions about Olaplex, let you know which ones are myths and which ones are facts. Good old true or false. Many of you guys will find the answers interesting, at least I did. Do let me know in the comment section which of these shocked you more. Alright, so let's begin with assumption number 1. Olaplex is more effective overnight. For quite a bit of time I did believe this was true and I did experiment using Olaplex overnight. However, in doing a little bit more research, they mentioned that it's not so much about the exposure time as it is about the moisture, because basically Olaplex stops working when your hair is dry. Does this mean that your hair will be damaged or overexposed if you do that? No, definitely you can leave this product overnight if you want to. However, its power will tend to decline as the hair gets drier and drier. What I do is just leave it on for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours and try to spritz some water, dampen my hair a little bit more and kind of reactivate it in a way because of how fragile your hair is when it is wet. All the tossing and turning and pulling and friction that happens overnight with wet hair is just not a very good idea. So that's why they don't really recommend it. And now let's move on to assumption number 2. Olaplex dries my hair. And when you're saying this, I'm assuming you're talking about Olaplex Nº2 or Olaplex Nº3. So I get this a lot actually in the comment section, and I think the most important thing here is to understand that Olaplex Nº3 is a strengthening treatment. It is not a deep conditioning treatment. The other thing that lets me know that people confuse those two things so much is when people tell me, would you like more like Olaplex or Kerastase? These are very different worlds. Olaplex kind of lives in its own category. So that's why I usually mention on some of my videos that I follow my Olaplex Nº3 treatment with my favorite deep conditioning hair mask to give it that moisture that Olaplex is not going to provide because it's just not what it's meant to do. Every time we bleach our hair, what happens is that the bonds that are in the hair fiber, they break. What Olaplex Nº3 or Nº1 and 2 do is actually revert that, rebuild those broken bonds. But once again, it has absolutely no hydrating properties. Another very important point that Ashley from the Oplex team mentioned to me, and I thought, wow, she's so right about this, is that most people tend to forget that you need to shampoo Olaplex Nº3 off your hair, and ideally using the Olaplex Nº4 shampoo. So if you forget or you just didn't know that you need to shampoo Olaplex Nº3 off your hair and then follow with either the conditioner, the Olaplex Nº5, or a hair mask, then you're kind of just leaving the product in, and it's gonna feel like your hair is weird and it's not gonna feel right when you try to style it. And now number 3, Olaplex slows down the bleaching process. I got this one a lot, and the problem is I am not a hairdresser. I'm just an Olaplex user, consumer. I'm slightly knowledgeable because I've been using every single Olaplex product and testing it out and documenting my journey for you guys for years and years and years. It is important to know that this is a myth and that if you follow the exact step by step when using Olaplex, do your highlights, bleach, lighten your hair, it shouldn't add any more time. But then again, one very important thing to remember is to use the exact quantity of Olaplex Nº1. Higher concentrations of Olaplex Nº1 than needed mixed with your bleach actually make the Olaplex work too fast. So here's the very interesting thing that happens. Remember that we talked about how the bleaching process breaks down the bonds, and that Oplex has the exact opposite effect. So if you have very high concentrations of Olaplex, what is going to happen is that Olaplex is going to start rebuilding those bonds that you need broken in order to bleach your hair way too fast. That is why there's a specific amount that you need to mix in with the bleach. So I have used Olaplex 1 and 2 at home as a standalone treatment and also for doing some highlights. I actually did the second thing while we were quarantined here for 9 months and I was unable to go to a salon. So let me know in the comments below if you want me to share with you my non-expert way of doing this at home in case you are in lockdown where you live, or if you really cannot afford going to a salon right now, then it may come handy. All right, moving on to assumption number 4. Olaplex makes hair curlier. And this one's actually true because as Olaplex rebuilds those broken bonds, it actually does help rebuild your curl pattern as well. So that's great news for us girls with waves or curls. I have to say I do notice that my natural waves look a lot better after an Olaplex Nº3 treatment. Many of you guys have asked this question because you have noticed that yourselves. So if you've noticed using the heat tools or having your hair chemically processed, your natural curls have loosened up a little bit, then that's the reason, and that's why Olaplex can help us girls. And now number 5. Olaplex is only meant for us bleached blondes, and this one is false. Even though I personally believe that if my hair was virgin, I wouldn't necessarily need to invest on the entire Olaplex line. If you have hair and it's damaged, then you can use Olaplex and benefit from using it. But if you have virgin hair, you don't color it, you have not bleached it, but you do kind of abuse it in other ways, like with chemically straightening processes or perms, you overdo the heat way too much, it's definitely going to work for you even though your hair is not bleached. It's true that because of the fact that Olaplex Nº1 is mixed with bleach, and that was one of the first things that people heard about this treatment, that it was meant to take you from like ultra dark hair to platinum blonde in one salon session with no damage, right? It's kind of the thing that made Olaplex stand out from the crowd, and everyone looked at it and said, I'm listening. So there's that immediate connection with Olaplex is meant for blondes, but that's not necessarily accurate. And now the next myth. Olaplex Nº3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, which are kind of the consumer products of Olaplex, only work if you have first received Olaplex 1 and 2 at the salon. Well, this one is oh so false. I personally used Olaplex Nº3 before I had a standalone treatment, you know, the Olaplex 1 and 2 done professionally. However, it is true that Olaplex 1 and 2 is the most concentrated of the entire Olaplex family. But if you ask me, not everybody even needs to go that far. I feel that you need to assess the situation in your hair, if that makes sense. So if your hair is very severely damaged, yes, I would say go to the salon, have Olaplex 1 and 2 done. In that scenario, it does make sense to kind of give your hair everything it needs to try to recover it as fast as possible. But moderate to low, then for sure, I mean, that was my case. Just using Nº3 at home will work wonders for you. Although what is definitely a great idea, especially if you highlight your hair, to use Olaplex 1 and 2 during the lightening process to actually prevent the damage to begin with. Like the hair that is broken and, you know, it's in the floor, it's not going to just regenerate. Olaplex is not going to do that. What it will do is that it will prevent that from happening. And later on at home, it will keep strengthening your hair with every single use when you blow dry it at home or detangle it, or, you know, just toss and turn during the night and maybe there's some friction there, or you use it way too much up in a bun, you know, there's not additional breakage. And finally, the last assumption is that using Olaplex Nº3 too frequently is going to damage your hair. And the answer is no, this is absolutely 100% a myth. And this is once again 100% double checked. And I think the confusion comes with the fact that some people believe that Olaplex is a protein treatment, and it is not. Protein treatments, not Olaplex, protein treatments can build up and harden your hair and potentially cause breakage if used too frequently. But once again, Olaplex does not work and does not contain protein in its patented formulation. So rest assured, you can use it as frequent as you feel your hair is asking for it. At least that's what I do. Sometimes I just go weeks without using Olaplex, and then at other times I just feel I need to use it a couple of times in just 1 week. So do have some common sense and kind of connect with your hair needs. I always believe that you are the best judge of that. And that is it for today, guys. I will see you again on Sunday. So I want to wish you guys an amazing Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. If you can carry only one thing throughout your entire life, let that be hope. Better things are always ahead. Beautiful words by Nikki Benes. Merry Christmas. Feliz Navidad. And I will catch up with you guys again on Sunday. Ciao. Do you wanna follow? Click here.